There she is. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I like to see real people. It's always nice. Been doing a lot of Zoom stuff, so it's good because I get to be home. Although this is 5 minutes from my home, so I don't mind coming here. But it's nice to really see humans in front of me. So I appreciate you all coming. It's nice. We're slowly growing again, getting back to our old group size. I think we used to have like 15 people, and we were in that small room for a while. So things are coming back. You thought they weren't, right? It felt like they weren't, but here we are. And so today I have a fun little story I want to talk about, and then you'll see where I go with that. But basically, there's a story about a woman who wants to be enlightened. And for the sake of us, maybe we're not chasing Buddhist enlightenment or something like that. We can think of the word enlightenment as awakening to our true self, our true nature. We can think of it as connecting with like an intuitive, like silent wisdom, that's here before our thinking and all the complaining and judging and things like that. You can think of it as just connecting with like an unshakable peace or ease. So fill in the blank for the word that you're comfortable with. It really doesn't matter, but similar things, right? But for the sake of the story, we'll just say enlightenment. So this woman really wants to find out about enlightenment. So she goes through the town and she asks all the different people, who can I see about this? Like, I have this strong passion and I really want to be enlightened and I want to find out the way, the big W, the way. So a couple people say, if you climb up the mountains, it's a hard journey, but if you go and you do your travel and you get up there, you'll find a little hut, and inside that little hut is a little old woman, and she can teach you about enlightenment, and she'll help you out. So the woman packs her bags and she heads out and she climbs the mountains, the steep hills, the scary ravines, and just makes a couple of day journey to this space in the mountains. And sure enough, there's this little hut. So she knocks on the door and a little old woman answers. And she says, everyone told me to come see you. I want to understand enlightenment. I want to become enlightened. And she's like, are you sure? And the woman's like, yes, of course. I made a 3-day journey. I climbed this crazy mountain. Of course I want it. She's like, are you really sure? And she says, yes, please, just teach me. I'll do anything. So with that, the old woman turns into this demon with a stick and keeps hitting her and says, now. And everywhere this woman went for the rest of her life, the demon chased her with the stick. Now. You might be wondering, what the hell is this story about? It's about the present moment. And, you've heard the book, The Power of Now, and I'm sure you've been to meditation and mindfulness things before, maybe not, maybe it's your first time, but I'm sure you've heard something about the present moment, And there's even this fun joke that I heard from Alexa the other day, the little robot thing. Said, what do you get a Zen master for his birthday? A house, because he loves to live in the present. You get it? The present. All right. It's a really stupid cheesy joke. But what's the big deal about the present? So, this woman turns into a demon. It's constantly saying now. We have a book, The Power of Now. I talk about it. What's the big deal about the present moment? And what does it have to do with enlightenment or just bringing a profound sense of ease, reducing the suffering, increasing joy or peace, contentment? Why this moment? And I'm going to tell you why. In 3 words that are profound and transformative, but they're going to sound like they're not. So you ready? This is it. Okay. right? And I always bring this story up when I say these three words, because I teach yoga as well. And I give little talks at the beginning of my class. And then one time I did the whole build up and I said, all right, these three words, ready? And I go, this is it. And in the back, I hear, but when you hear that, don't you feel the same way? Maybe a little, if you're being honest. This can't be it. There's got to be something better. I don't want to feel like this. I don't think life should be this way. You know, we constantly think that something's wrong or missing. So we're constantly running from the present moment. And if you look at your mind, even for 5 minutes, you'll see that it never wants to be in the present moment. No, it's too cold. It's too hot. It's too this. I'm too that. It should, you know, maybe it could be like it used to be before the pandemic, or we could fantasize about what it could be like in 5 years if I just lost those 5 pounds and did right? So we're constantly running away from this, but this is it. You know, and this isn't some abstract philosophical thing. This is it. Where else can you live your life? Nowhere. You only have this moment right here, right now. The body, the senses interacting with life now. You can only be here. Yet it's the last place we want to be. And it's the place we spend the least amount of time. And that's kind of like a paradox because you can't escape the present moment. You know, Jack Kornfield, this Buddhist author and teacher, he says, he does like this exercise where he says, all right, everyone, I'm going to give you guys 1 minute. Try to get out of the moment. Go. He's like, jump around, spin around, scream, shake, do what you got to do. Try to get out. But you can't. You know, so on one level, we can't be, we're always present because this is the only place. But on another level, our awareness kind of can collapse into different thought trains that take us to the past, to the future, to the complaints, to storylines. So in one sense, we can miss our lives. You ever drive somewhere and you're like, how the hell did I get here? Wow, I'm here already? What happened? Who was driving? So you were there. Obviously, something was there, but something was also not there. So in a sense, we can be disconnected from the present. And most of us are. You know, there was a Harvard study, and this was in 2010. So mind you, we've become a lot more distracted and, you know, we've had more technological devices and a lot busier minds, shorter attention spans. But in 2010, they did a study, a Harvard study that said 50% of every waking hour, of every waking day, people are lost in thought. So that means half of your life. And again, this is being nice, I think. I think it's a lot more than half, in my opinion. Well, technically it was 47% or 48. We're saying 50. 50% of your day, you're thinking about life rather than experiencing it. And maybe that doesn't bother you, but to me, my life's running out. All your lives are running out. I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss life. And I do all the time because I'm worried about this, or I'm planning that, or I'm thinking about how it was or how it should be, or complaining. You know, obviously I've worked with it. So I'm definitely present a lot more than 15 years ago when I wasn't practicing, but still, we get caught, we get lost. So meditation actually gives you your life back in a sense, because it brings you back home to the only place you can be. And we spend so much time and so much energy fighting how this moment is, or fighting how things are, fighting our lives. And no matter how much you bang your head against the wall, this is it. I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm not saying it's going to feel good all the time. That is just the way it goes. But we don't have to run away. We don't have to continuously try to escape our lives and you know, fall into, I like to teach 3, but there's normally 2, fall into the 2 places, the past and the future. And I'll get to the 3rd. But let's look at that, the past. Where is it? Where's your childhood? Can you show me? Where's the pharaohs of Egypt? Where's the dinosaurs? Where is that? Where's yesterday? Where's this morning? Anyone? Show me.
The history books.
In the book.
They're gone.
It's gone. What's done is finished. What's done is finished. You can't go back. You know, and sometimes I like to take out my Zen stick and slap people around a little and say, what's happened, happened. It happened the way it happened. You made these choices and you have these consequences. Again, no amount of banging your head against the wall is going to change the past. You still have to deal with consequences, right? The karma, so to speak, of your actions and of the actions and all the things that have happened. I'm not saying there isn't a continuation, there isn't things that we have to process. But what's done is finished. And one of my favorite quotes is, give up all hope for a better past. You know, because you can't do anything about it. You know, could you reframe it in therapy? Sure. Is that helpful? Absolutely. Can you learn from it? Yeah. But constantly running backwards, it's a waste of time.
Well, it's who you are too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Your past is who you are today. Without your past.
Right.
you
But that
know,
can become a major limitation. If you were, you know, if you had a bad childhood and you think the world's unsafe, or if you think I'm not good enough or I'm unlovable, and even if we had great parents, we still have those beliefs from some unmet needs. And that becomes a problem because now as an adult, we're holding on to the past and we're limiting ourselves to that identity. And then what's amazing about meditation, or you want to enlightenment, or what that woman was seeking, is freedom from that. It's not the whole story. You know, we don't have to be limited to our conditioning. I mean, that's the whole purpose. Why are we doing this? You know, if we just want to be conditioned by our past and by our lives and by our thoughts and moods and, you know, freedom. But you're absolutely right that there is this process, and now.
But I was thinking of it in a good sense,
Yeah.
not in a bad sense.
No,
Like I was thinking of it in a positive way, saying, wow, I'm here because
right.
from my past, I came up to
Oh, okay.
this moment, and it's like I was thinking of it more positive.
Right,
not
right.
as a negative.
Right. Well, yeah, we're a result of it. And you know, they always say, if you want to know the past, look right now. And if you want to know what the future is going to be, look right now. Because the results of your past actions are expressing themselves now. And what you do now is going to be expressing itself in the future. Those are the seeds that you're planting. So yes, it can, I guess we can look at it from all different angles. But you know, even the identity of like, oh, I did it and I'm so strong, and that can even become a limitation, or like something we latch onto, and we want to be free. You know, well, maybe we don't, but I do. So past, the point being, we can't live there. Why? Because it's a memory that's happening now. That's it. It exists in your mind. It's no different than a dream. And that's why they say sometimes, like, you know, in that life is but a dream. It's true, right? Because we have, let's say we have this class and it passes. And then it's a memory in the mind. Was there even a class? Like, was it, is it even real? Right? I'm getting a little too deep now. Gonna be tripping everybody out.
What I don't get is why she had to be a demon and hit her over the head.
Well, it was just the story that it's something that follows.
You
Yeah,
know, instead of.
because it's that fierce wisdom, you know, like there's someone, Manjushri, that I have. It's it has a sword, like a flaming sword, and it's like a kind of scary looking figure, and it's just it's the fire, the fieriness of wisdom. You know, it can be.
wanted that? Like, because you want to be enlightened, is that what she was seeking and that's what she received?
Sure, she got exactly what she asked for. She wants, and that's, where we're getting at with this is,
When you
you're-
think you want something, you kind of get what you're asking for.
be careful.
Yeah.
Ask Jane. We used to have these bracelets that we had on one retreat that I gave out, and they said, whatever happens, I don't mind. And I dare you to wear that for a weekend and see how life responds to you.
And what is
bad.
that person, or is it the god, or what is it on your?
No, it's just this, it's like an embodiment of, let's say, wisdom, So all of these things, like at least from the Buddhist perspective and how I view them, like Guanyin, compassion, that's like the unconditional, compassionate nature that exists within us, embodied in a form. So, so it's just like a form, but it's not like some separate entity, like
Okay.
some god or
Easier
something
for
like that.
people to follow.
Yeah, so sometimes it's you have a statue and it's an embodiment of something within yourself. That's how I see it. I don't like look at the Buddha, for example. I have hundreds of Buddha statues. I don't see him as like a god. Buddha wasn't a god. He was a prince. He's dead now. And, and whether he was real or not, does it really matter if the teachings mean something and transform your life, But when I see a Buddha statue, I'm reminded of that potential within myself. And that's what I bow to. I don't bow to like, oh, I hold you humba like doing some worship. I'm bowing to that part of myself that can be awake, that can be compassionate, that can be, wise and skillful in the world. So yeah, just different embodied forms of those potentials within us. So sometimes people can, for me, it's nice to have a reminder, and to be able to see that. Because then when I walk by it, it's like, and I'm grumpy or something, it's like, oh yeah.
For the one what was the original one?
Manjushri.
Manjushri?
Jushri.
Manjushri.
Yeah.
And that is,
The embodiment of wisdom. So I have wisdom and compassion. The two wings of practice are technically wisdom and compassion. You can be, wise, but have no compassion, or you can be really compassionate without wisdom. And the Dalai Lama calls it, I think, idiot wisdom or idiot compassion, something like that.
interesting.
But yeah, so I wouldn't look too into the demon and it's just, this is just the story. And the point is now that there's something about it. There's something about that moment by moment, paying attention to the present moment that puts you in touch with something deep within yourself, some potential, some, someone recently just, I think his name's Larry Rosenberg, one of my new favorite teachers I've been listening to. He's like almost 90 years old, I think. But he talks about this like wise and intelligent silence. And I like that, that there's just this depth that we all have. It's nothing special like that I have or Buddha had, or we all have it. It's just the nature of mind. It's this open, spacious, kind of intelligent, like luminosity, and not to sound all hippy dippy, but just like this knowing. There's this knowing part of ourselves that is before thought, that can interact, that, and it's like the way he said it the other day, I loved it. It was like that intuitive silence can infuse everything you do. And I love that word, infuse. There was just something about that was really nice. That the more we practice, the more that wisdom can it like be embodied moment by moment. Not that we're perfect, not that we don't have moods or don't, we still get angry, we're still human, but that wisdom can shine through, and respond appropriately rather than that conditioning that we were talking about, the conditioned reactivity that we get caught in all the time. Those misguided roads to happiness that we just follow over and over again. But I get very sidetracked. So let us return to the moment. So past, clearly not a great place, right? It might have been great, but it was now. But now it's not now. And now it's just a memory, right? So the future. Any worriers in the house? Yeah. Obsessive planners, right? We try to live in the future. And, again, it can be more of like an unskillful way, like worrying and things like that. It can also be the if only. How many of us have that? If only fill in the blank, then I can finally let go. Then I can finally relax. Then I'll be happy. Once I retire, then, once I get enough money, once I lose enough weight, once I start eating better, once I go to therapy for 5 years. Do you ever get there? And if you do get there, is it just like the completion that you were hoping for? Maybe you did lose that 5 pounds. What's next? Fulfilling desires is like drinking salt water to quench your thirst. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. The more we try to fulfill desires as a way to be happy, the more we want. And the more we want, the more we feel like we lack. And then we're never satisfied. And we're always chasing that next vacation, that next job, that next paycheck, that next drink, that next party out with friends, the next moment of pleasure that doesn't last, that we think is going to finally do it. And we're not bad for this, by the way. I'm not saying like we're bad, because you're not bad. You shouldn't feel like, oh, I suck because I keep doing this. This is just human nature. And we're trying to get to know it. We're trying to make friends with it. We're not trying to fight ourselves and make a war. We're just trying to see clearly. The word dharma, right? Capital D. It can mean the Buddha's teachings, right? But what it really means is truth. What's true? Clear seeing, right? That's what vipassana means. If you ever heard that word, famous Buddhist word, vipassana meditation. Ooh, it means clear seeing. We're just seeing how things are so that we can more wisely navigate through our lives. We can cause ourselves a lot less suffering. We can have a healthier, more skillful and wholesome relationship to our thoughts and our feelings. And we can cause less suffering in the world. It's not rainbows and unicorns like we hope. It's not fireworks. It's just this. And we get more comfortable with this messiness of the mind and the emotions and the reactions and our conditioning and our pain and our trauma and all that juicy stuff. But we're not going to find it in the future. Ajahn Brahm, a monk, he said, I can tell the future and I'm right 100% of the time. And he says, it's uncertain. But it's true. You might be, you might want to, plan your day tomorrow and you have an idea. It may go that way, but it might be completely different. As I always say, life doesn't hesitate to change. All of a sudden, life changes and it's very different. Somebody dies, an illness, an accident. I mean, it doesn't always have to be bad. Maybe you win the lottery tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe you'll donate some money if you do. The future's always uncertain. Can we have preferences? Can we still plan? Am I demonizing the mind that plans? No. It's when it becomes an obsession. I need to live in the future always. I got to be better. And that's how it kind of manifests in this realm. I got to be better. I got to do all these self-help things. And I'm going to read this book and I'm going to be better in 5 years. Like, well, better from what? What do you mean? And when is that? When is that better? And I say this all the time. If you want to be better, you got to make good choices now. And if you're constantly thinking about how bad you are now and how you want to be better in the future, you're going to keep making crappy choices because you're not paying attention. And you're going to keep getting stuck in the same patterns, same suffering. Anyone stuck in the same patterns of suffering? Just me? That's not good. Maybe you guys should be teaching that. You don't find yourself in the same situations, the same feelings, but whether loneliness, anxiety, grief, addictive craving, there's all kinds of anger, especially as we get older, we get really good at aversion, right? and control. We watch people who are getting up there. Who moved my lamp? You know,
Who took my yoga spot?
yeah, who took my yoga spot? Right? But it's because things are slowly going out of control and they're trying to get it instead of just letting go into the loss of control, which is kind of what our practice is about. Anything can happen to anybody at any time. Let's get comfortable with that. Not because Mark says so, but because that's what's true. I can't stand these meditation teachers, spiritual teachers that promise you it's all going to be fine. I just read something in this quote. I don't know, maybe this is just my own bias, but it says, it's all going to be okay in the end. And then someone in the comments said, and if it's not okay, it's not the end. And I think to myself, aging, illness, death, losing everything that I love and being separated from my loved ones, I don't think it's going to be better in the end. I think it's going to be pretty difficult and painful. And if I have not trained my mind to welcome what's difficult and painful and uncertain and unknown, and learn to embrace things as they are, life as it is on life's agenda, not mine, I'm going to be screwed. So I don't know. I think sometimes spirituality gets into this like la-di-da, you know, somebody hold me, carry me through life, and it's all gonna be good, and we're gonna live happily ever after. And it's just like, I think we watch too many Disney movies, you know, because they don't show when Prince Charming and, you know, the princess like are fighting after 10 years of marriage, and they get a divorce, and then there's the step husband or whatever, the stepdad, and then, you know, the bitterness and the arguments, and they don't show the real thing. So I try to teach what I think to be real, which I don't find as depressing. You know, I think when the Buddha said like life has suffering, it's like, oh, what a relief. Somebody's telling the truth, you know, not feeding me nonsense anymore. Life's hard. It's impermanent. We can't hold on to anything. It's not that we're screwing up. Like, why can't I get it all together? What's wrong with me? Nothing. You can't keep things together. Things come together, they fall apart. It's just the nature of life. But where do we see all this? Let me get back. Where do we see the impermanence? Where do we meet the suffering? Where do we make the wise choices? Where do we find ease?
This is it.
Yeah, right here. Right here. And when you finally accept that this is it, it really is a relief. Because again, you're not struggling anymore. You're not running away. Do you still have reactivity? Sure. But you don't even run away from that. And you don't let that make you run away either. And you just learn to say, okay, right now, this is it. It's not it's not being dismissive. It's just, it's coming from a place or coming from a mind that says, right now, these are the conditions. Will they be like this forever? No, we understand that. Things are impermanent, you know, so what can go with this? This is it. Not always so. Another great three-liner. So I think those can just come together. Yes, this is it. But yes, not always so. Which means we can relax into anything. If it's unpleasant, yes, but not always so. Right? And it doesn't matter what it is. Like things can't last. Like difficult emotions can't last at 110%, 24/7. They come, they go. Maybe multiple times a day, depending on where we are in our lives, or sometimes our biological makeup or trauma or things like that, but they come and go. So whether we like it or not, things are coming and going in our day to day. And you all know what they are for you. We all have them, you know, that teacher you don't want, whether it's your anger, your sadness, your depression, your achiness, an illness. That's your teacher in this moment. Those are the ingredients that you have to work with. And the freedom lies in being able to just be with it. Again, it's nothing special, but when you do it and you practice it, it's really such a gift. That's why they call it the present. No, I'm just kidding. It is a gift. And that's why I share it, because to know that you can just pause, like when you're in the middle of a shitstorm, emotional mess, problem, thing, whatever, that you can just pause and say, ooh, right now, it's a shitstorm, emotional mess. And it feels like this. Right now, things are like this. Okay. And not that it magically makes the pain go away, but there's a relief. It's like, we've been carrying around this heavy boulder, and no matter who tells us to put it down, we still hold it. We're scared to put it down, even though our arms are bleeding and are scratched and shoulders are killing us and our neck hurts and it's killing our posture. And we're holding on, holding on, holding on. And then one day we decide to listen and we just put it down. Oh, that's the relief that I get, at least. And I think that you guys get when we do the practice, or if you just pause in the middle of your day when you're feeling really stressed out, you just say, ooh, stress is like this, and it's just, oh. And there's that. You're not fighting. And I'm not saying you're not engaging with life. Like I said last night in my talk, it's not about being this passive, like, rock. Like if you're in an abusive relationship, you need to have some common sense, right? It's not just like, my meditation teacher told me to accept everything, so just beat me, like, no, like, come on. You can accept that this is the situation you're in, and then from that place of clarity, from that place of non-struggling, you can say no. You can set the boundary, you can walk away, you can, but the contraction on top of the contraction on top of the contraction of just neurotic trying to wish our lives away or hope for some grass is greener nonsense, it's a waste of time and energy that we could be putting into skillfully managing the moment, appropriately responding to our lives so that we don't plant seeds for future suffering, so that we change patterns of relating, so that we just have an easier life. And that's the thing. It's not, again, it's so hard to talk about this. Does life get easier when you meditate? On one level, yes, because you just relate directly and simply to life in any given moment. And you try to bring your deepest intentions to not cause harm, to reduce suffering in yourself and other people, and and you meet your life. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's nice to pause.
That's where you were going.
Yeah, right here to that place of ease, beyond words, young
So
grasshoppers.
You're saying, once you see that clarity, it kind of frees you to make the next decision that you need to make.
And the clarity isn't anything special either. It's just knowing right now I'm hooked. Right now my mind is frustrated. And there's little tips that can make things easier. Just like you heard how I said, like, well, I even said I wouldn't even include that, but just the mind is agitated. Like if you just can say that, like the mind is sad, right? The mind is lonely. The mind is anxious. You're already taking out a big issue, a big ball of stress, me and mine. Because usually anxiety arises in the moment. And what do we do with it? We don't just say, contraction in the chest. That's quite unpleasant, but this won't be here for that long. No, right? We grab hold of it. We say, I'm anxious. And then here comes the storylines. I'm an anxious person. I've always been an anxious person. Oh, woe is me. Nobody else experiences anxiety. It's just me. Everybody else on Facebook looks so happy. And I'm just this lonely, miserable, anxious person. Woe is me. Maybe not that dramatic. But then from all that, I need to get away. I don't want to feel this. And that's where the problems come in. Those misguided roads, temporary relief. That doesn't solve anything. You feel good for it's just enough to keep you doing it. But then it comes, you just end up right back where you left, you know? So to just, instead of constantly identifying, practice the not me, not mine. I mean, this is like some of the deeper dimensions of like the Buddhist wisdom is the not me, not mine. So when the anxiety arises, instead of saying I'm anxious, you could just say, oh, anxiety is present. I'm aware of anxiety. Because that's what's true. And if we leave it alone, there's different studies. One said if you leave an emotion alone, it lasts a minute and a half. Like if you don't feed it with thoughts. The problem is we get lost in that feedback loop. The contraction happens, then the storylines come and the judgments, and then that feeds the feeling, and the feeling grows, and then the mind reacts to the big feeling. And the way to step off is to just come back to the feeling and not feed it, which is a skill that you learn in meditation, to let go of thoughts, to come back to the felt sense, to let go of the thought, to come back to the present moment, to let go, to come back. We're training our mind to stay with this, right? Not because it's a contest, but because this is it. And this is where the work is. And this is where the ease is. I think Ajahn Chah, another Ajahn, all these Ajahns, was he not Tibetan, what's the other one? Thai forest master. He's dead, but he was a Thai forest master. And he said, you know, the freedom from suffering is found in the same place as suffering. It's not found in the mountaintops. It's not found with a teacher or a certain practice. It's found right here in the same place that suffering arises. And in those moments of anxiety, where's the freedom? In pausing and feeling, experiencing, without clinging, without pushing away, without running away. Just, oh, this is unpleasant, unpleasant sensations. And seeing that clearly, that whole process is what we're doing. We're seeing clearly. And when we see clearly, we have the choice. Do I identify? Do I run away? Do I act in that unskillful way? Or do I just say, okay, these are the situations. What's the most compassionate response I could have right now? And that's when you start to trust that deeper wisdom. And that takes practice too. So all this is practice. You know, you can listen to my talks. I put something out on social media the other day. You can listen to my talks all day. But if you don't sit down with yourself, if you don't pause when you're anxious, then why are you wasting your time listening to me? My words can't do anything. You know, I wish I could do it for you. I would. I love this practice, but it's up to you. And that's what I love about meditation too. It puts it in your hands. Stop blaming the world. Stop blaming your mother-in-law. Stop blaming your kids. Stop blaming your job. Stop blaming your past. If only my dad loved me a little better. Just stop. Because what you're doing is just putting your responsibility out here. You're waiting for everything else to change. Why? You know, just do the work. You want your life to be different? Do things differently. It's literally that simple. You want to stop doing X, Y, and Z? Stop doing it. I know this is easier said than done, but it's true. I had a teacher one time, I said, what happens if I don't care about my vows anymore? You know those days where you're like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to be an asshole today. I don't care. And he said, you just start caring again. Easier said than done, but true, right? All right, I don't want to talk the whole time, and that's fast, so don't be nervous. So, silly me. The mindfulness teacher forgot to take out the bell. While I take this out, let's get comfortable so that we can actually come into the present moment. Blessings. Okay. So hands on the knees or in the lap. Sit up nice and tall. Feet firmly planted on the ground. And then close the eyes. And we'll start with the sound of the bell. So the bell is going to be now. And if you're listening to the bell, you're here with your life in this moment. So for these 3 hits, just allow yourself to hear the sound until it goes away. So allow yourself to arrive. To truly be here. And it's nothing special, nothing fancy. It's just paying attention to what's happening right now. So feel the body as it sits. Hear the sounds as they come and go. Notice the thoughts flickering in the mind. And whatever's arising, pleasant or not, see if you can just let it be there. And just simply experience it as it is. And try to go to the direct experience. And what I mean by that is, for example, I can say, listen to the cars passing. But cars passing is an idea. But to connect with that's the direct experience. And the same thing for the sensations in the body, for the emotions, if there are any present. Diving into the immediacy of this moment. And then inviting a sense of letting go for these few minutes, not taking the mind and the body personally. But allowing the body to follow its process, its natural way. Allow the conditioned mind to do what it does. Not me, not mine. And you can almost think of it like your body and mind are a nature reserve that you're walking into. You sit down on the bench and you see the leaves blowing in the wind, the frog jumping in the pond, the birds fluttering around from branch to branch. Just things unfolding in a natural way. And we observe ourselves in that same way. Just the achy shoulder, just the cars passing by, just the worried thought. And we become curious. We become clear. Right now, things are like this. And whatever this is right now, my heart and mind are spacious enough to hold it. So as we become more aware, we also want to invite a sense of ease. Allowing ourselves to just soften. So in this sense, we're just controlling what we can control. If there's some tension and we can let it go, great. If there's a contraction somewhere, we can soften that, great. And if not, well, then we can just soften around it and let it be that way. There's nothing to struggle with. You can almost imagine like you're listening to an orchestra. You're not trying to focus on one particular thing, but you're also not pushing anything away or ignoring. You're just open to the whole experience, receiving all the sounds. So think of this moment like just a giant orchestra performing. And just sit back and enjoy the show. But doing so with some ease and relaxation. So if you want, you can deepen your breathing a little bit. Try to breathe into the belly. This takes you out of that fight or flight response, which alone just feels nice. To not be all jacked up all the time, to just kick in the other part of the nervous system. And then again, as you're doing this deeper breathing, softening the body, especially on the exhales. What I like to imagine is myself as ice, and as I breathe out, I'm slowly melting to water. And then as I breathe out and soften more, I'm that same water evaporating into the air, down and out. And through this process of awareness and relaxation, we have our breath as an anchor in the moment. You can't breathe in the past, you can't breathe in the future. So if you're in touch with the breath, you're in touch with your life. Allow your awareness to be like a mirror, just receiving and reflecting back a clear image of what's in front of it. Again, even if it is an achy shoulder, it's just achy shoulders like this. Like there's no problem, there's no me or mine, there's no story, no judgment, no expectation for it to get better. It's just what's in front of the mirror right now. Even with the mind, busy mind. Practice is clear seeing, so clearly see what a busy mind looks like. All the thoughts racing, the panic, the worry, the planning. Right? Busy mind can sit here with us too. And if you keep getting pulled away by thoughts, just come back to the next breath. Thinking, back to the breath. Just like a real anchor, it won't let you go too far. Just come back. This breath, this moment. So I'm going to hit the bell one more time. And I just want you to receive it. Receive the sound. Let it arise, hang out for a while, and pass away like everything else in our lives. So from here, take a nice deep breath, the biggest breath of the day, in through the nose. And then out the mouth. Very slowly, you can wiggle the fingers, the toes. And when you're ready, you can gently open the eyes. Does anyone else feel more here? If that makes sense. Good, because that's the only place you can be. Just kidding. So I'll save like just a few minutes. I always like to save if there's any questions about today, about not today. And other things.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like, oh, I'm sorry. What kind of a bowl, I know that's a Tibetan singing bowl? What kind of a bowl
No,
is
this
that?
is actually from the Zen monastery store in New York, I think. There's I forget the name, the Zen Mountain Monastery. They have like a shop, and this is one of the smaller ones. There's, they have like the bigger one, and then they have like the temple one. I wish I had the money, but
Beautiful.
carry the. You'd see me rolling in. One day. Yes. If only I had the temple bell, then class would be.
So who makes those bowls? Do they come from,
I'm sure they buy them, but I don't know.
you don't know, okay, just curious.
Doesn't say.
Because someone told me that every Tibetan bowl has a mantra in it, or,
Oh.
infused when they make it. I didn't know if that was.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
But that has beautiful sound.
Yeah, this has a nice sound. That's why I bought it. Because the ones you buy on Amazon, they're like tin. It's like
Yeah.
think, and it's like, oh, this is terrible.
Zen Mountain.
Zen Mountain Monastery. If you look that up, then you go to the Zen Monastery store, and then they have different sizes. I think this is 4.5. But
Yeah, for
like
my daughter, one of them, a Tibetan bowl.
they measure the
Yeah.
like the distance.
Yeah.
So if it says 4.5,
Yeah, I think
you could
she
figure.
measures-
I should have got the. Next one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so I was just gonna make a comment. So I'm thinking of really going to talk about minimalist home, like really just taking all your stuff out, like, so I was kind of thinking about that during our meditation, not, during the hour. But just taking all your old stuff and as past reminders of why are we holding on to this and just chucking everything out and
Right.
living like just what I need today.
Right.
So I want to like kind of get in that direction of
Sure.
trying to be very minimalistic.
And that helps. That helps when you unclutter, like the mind is quieter.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't have to sell your house or anything.
No,
And I don't
no.
think you're talking about that. But, we can have that idea, like, I just want to throw it all away. But it's really how are you holding on to this stuff? You can have the nice stuff.
Yeah,
But if
yeah.
it's like defining you, or if it's, you're clinging to it, or you're not willing to let it
Or it's
go,
just like
then,
the past, and
yeah.
it's like, okay, it was
but
great
all that
then.
junk, yeah,
It's
that we
like,
hold on to.
Yeah, the house is full of, I mean, it's not full, but it's, I have stuff, the basement, the closets, the attic. I just wanna like
Free up some
free
space,
up space.
do it,
Yeah.
and watch all the reactions and the
That's
the
what
neur-
thrift
the
stores
neur-
are all
neurotic
about.
tick
That's
as you throw
what
things back.
thrift stores are all about.
Well,
They're
that-
filled with these things that people.
And that's my next, this
Yeah.
stuff is going to, the consignment
Sell it,
shop.
yeah.
And
Because
just
I
be
do.
careful you don't stay there too long, she'll come out with more than you went in.
Oh, boy, you know of any good ones?
The wanting mind. So any other comments or questions?
Covered a lot tonight.
I did, yeah. I'm glad I
You said
don't.
3 things, you said past, future.
Ooh,
What
okay,
was
real
that?
quick, I'll get. Dumping all that crap onto this moment. the too cold, the too hot, the storylines about it. Oh, I'm this way, I'm that. It shouldn't be this way. It should. So even though we might be in the present moment, we're still not there touching the present moment because we're distancing ourselves by the complaining mind or the judging mind or the, the should and shouldn't mind or that. So that's like the third
Oh, the present
part.
moment of
It's
still
like-
not being present.
Right. So
You're present
we're
with
in the
something.
present moment, but we're not because we're
It's like-
complaining
like,
about
Like in the morning, it's like, I'll make my bed, and I'm like, I am making my bed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
trying to, like, I'm here, I'm making my bed, like, I'm trying to be present
it.
as I am bringing laundry downstairs.
And there's nothing wrong
I'm
with the
walking
mental
down
noting.
stairs.
The mental noting helps. I mean, you don't have to be obsessive about it, but it really helps just saying what you're doing because that's keeping your mind.
Yeah, like
with-
instead of being like a million miles away, it's like, okay, wait, I'm here, I'm making my bed. I'm happy, it's fine, I'm good, I feel, it's just like the senses of how I'm feeling and what I'm doing at that moment, so I kind of do stuff like in that nature,
Good. Now.
No, not that.
You want that lady? I'll call her. Let me go up and I'll give her a ring and I'll send her to your houses.
I don't think I noticed how much I was not doing that. My husband just recently retired. And he's in my space
Right.
in the morning. And I didn't realize how much, and Ann and I have talked about this. I didn't realize how much I was thinking about what was going to happen that day. Or did I have my ducks in a row or what I was planning? And until I started hearing clanging something, and I'm like, you're in my space.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think here, trying to plan. And then I realized, he's in the now. And I'm the one that's all over the place.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And you just clarified that.
And I just read recently you can think of when you're complaining, that's like an alarm that you're clinging on to something. That you're holding on to something and that you're resisting something and you're fighting the moment. He shouldn't be here right now. I'm planning my kids should listen.
But that there's suffering and that you can have grief in the now,
Right.
and that's just part of it.
Right, yeah, and that's where the spirituality falls into this nonsense, like spiritual bypassing, where we think we're just gonna get that mantra and our heart's gonna open and we won't grieve anymore. I think the true spiritual practice, you're gonna grieve deeper. It's like having your heart on the outside. You're gonna feel things more deeply. And people always say to me, Mark, I think meditation's making me worse. My mind's crazy, I'm feeling things more. And it's not that it's worse, it's just you're actually paying attention to how it's been. So, instead of masking it or just being distracted from it.
Right.
So to be able to go into it consciously, fully, that's where the transformation is, but that's the last thing we want to do. And, we want to tiptoe around it with some spiritual BS that, is going to make us feel happily ever after. And why can't we just grieve?
It's like, you read all these magazines or whatever. 10 ways to be happy. This is the way you have to be happy. And it's like, I'm like, I don't even read them.
I have my vomit bag next to me when I read those.
Happy, like, you know what? I'm happy without reading that.
Yeah, number 11, don't read this.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, so
Okay.
let me just pop this off here. So.
Oh,